Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, a HealthEquity Member Portal Overview. My name's Stacy Johnson with HealthEquity, and I will be conducting and presenting the webinar today. This webinar is designed to give you an overall understanding of how to use your HealthEquity Member Portal in order to completely manage your health savings account online. This is the third in a series of 3 webinars that we offer here at HealthEquity. The first being a health savings account basics, the second being tips to maximize your HSA savings, and then this member portal overview is the third. Additionally, we have a webinar surrounding our investment advisor and our investment options here at HealthEquity. If you haven't already registered for one of these webinars, I highly recommend doing so. You can register for the sessions by going to healthequity.com/webinars. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is an overview of your member portal, which is basically an online bank account for the HSA. To log into your HealthEquity member portal, you can go to www.myhealthequity.com. That's going to take you directly to a login page. If you've already created a username and password for our system, then you'll simply enter that and log in. However, if you've never logged into your account before, you can click on the option that says Begin Now, and it will take you through a series of 4 steps to verify your identity, set up your login information, check your email settings, and find your account. It's just a quick process, shouldn't take you more than a few minutes to go through that. Once you do log into the account, it's going to look something like this. This is your home page for your HealthEquity member portal. And now we're going to go ahead and do a demo of the actual site itself. So again, this is your home page of your HealthEquity member portal, or it will look something similar to this. Couple things I want to point out on the home page is you do have easy navigation options. So we have some things readily available on your home screen, such as your HSA available balance, your contributions, and your distributions year to date. And then if you scroll down to the quick links, these are some things that you may use frequently, such as paying a provider, requesting reimbursement, making a contribution, or going directly to your transaction history, which will show you everything that goes in and out of the HSA account. Additionally, over here on the right, you'll see a to-do list where you can see claims that are unresolved or have not been paid on, and some resources which will be specific to your account, just links to different sites typically to help you access information surrounding the HSA account. Up here at the top, you can always get back to your home page by clicking on the home icon. And then additionally, you have navigation through the tabs at the top where you can access anything on your account. So we're going to start with the My Account tab, and we'll check the account balance. This is going to show you a ledger balance, and if you want more details on those balances, you can actually click View Details to see it more in depth. And it will take you to your HSA transaction history if you do that. Another thing that you're going to want to check, especially if you have never logged into this account before, is your profile details. So this is where we house all of your personal information. So if you go to profile details, this is where you can check that you have a current address on file with us, a current phone number. If you ever have a change of address or phone number, you can always edit that here in your account. Another thing that you want to check in your profile section is your beneficiary information. So with a tax-deferred account such as an HSA, we highly recommend adding a beneficiary. This is a long-term account that goes with you and can pass on to individuals that you list as beneficiaries if something were to happen to you. If there's no beneficiary listed, then the account will have to pay out through the estate and taxes will be applied. If you list a spouse as a beneficiary, that spouse can actually take over this account and continue to use it tax-free for medical expenses. To add a beneficiary, you're simply going to click on the Add Edit button. And it will give you 3 options. Most people will probably fall into the middle category of I am married and choose to designate my spouse, or the first category, I'm not married and choose to designate someone other than my spouse. So we'll do the I am married and choose to designate my spouse option. And then it's only a matter of entering in their date of birth, their name, their social security number, and their address if it's different from yours. You do need the social security number in order for this account to eventually pay out, so you're going to want to make sure you have that handy when you're adding your beneficiaries. Once you've added the beneficiaries, they will list right here under the name relationship section, and then you will simply add the percentage that you would like to designate to them. So for a primary, if it's a spouse, you're typically going to list 100%, and then you can add more beneficiaries to add contingents. And contingents you can divide, amongst children. So if you had 2 children, you could split it 50-50 or however you choose. Another thing that's on your profile tab that you probably want to check and maybe add if you choose to is right here under account information. There's a section that says external accounts. This is a place where you can actually add a personal bank account to our system in order to either be reimbursed for a medical expense from this HSA directly into your bank account, which I'm going to show you how to do later in the demo. Or you can add an external bank account if you'd also like to make contributions from that bank account into your HSA. Something that I recommend doing, reimbursements via EFT in this manner are not going to cost you anything, and they're going to be much faster. You'll have the funds within 2 to 3 business days. We also do check reimbursements if you choose to. However, a check will cost you $2 for the paper, and then it takes 7 to 10 business days by mail. To add an external bank account, you'll simply click on the Add Edit or Add New option. And it's going to pull up a picture of a voided check where you can find your routing and account number in order to add a bank account. So you'll enter your routing and account number for your personal checking account. You don't need the address of the bank or the financial institution, but you do need the name. And then down here at the bottom under account purpose, you'll see 2 options. The first one is I don't want to verify my bank account. That option can be used if you are only going to be making reimbursements from this account. So if you're making contributions into the HSA some other way through payroll or something like that, and you don't need to do it from a personal bank account, then you could certainly choose that first option that says I don't want to verify my bank account. However, if you ever did want to make contributions into this account from your bank account, you would have to verify the account. So in that case, you would click on I want to verify my bank account. And then the verification process is fairly simple. HealthEquity will send a small deposit to your personal bank account, usually anywhere between 1 penny to 25 cents. That deposit will go in the following business day from adding this account to our system. And when you see that amount post to your personal checking or savings account, you can come back in here and tell us the amount that was deposited, and that will verify the bank account. Again, it's only necessary if you want to make contributions. If you're just going to be doing reimbursements into this account, you can click on I don't want to verify my bank account. Further down on the My Profile tab, you'll also see a section on email settings. If you do not have an email added to our system, I highly recommend adding one. It's a really easy way for us to send you notifications on the account. We're not going to send you any kind of promotions or junk email or anything like that. Simply things like when contributions post to your account or when you run your card for a medical expense. We'll just send you a quick email letting you know that some of those things are happening so that you don't have to log into your account to see them. You know that it's happening by getting the email. Another thing that I recommend doing is choosing electronic monthly statements. With our HealthEquity HSA accounts, we do send monthly statements out. They're defaulted to go by mail, and if they go by mail, there is a $1 paper statement fee each month. So I recommend going green. You can save yourself that $1 and also save some trees. So to do that, you'll simply click the Add Edit button and scroll down to the bottom agreeing to the terms of having those statements sent to your email address on file with us. Another thing you'll find in your profile tab down here at the bottom is your login settings. It will show your username, and you can always change your username or your password at any time here under the login settings. The next thing I want to show you is where you can access your statements on this account. So we have monthly statements, we have year-end statements, and then we also have tax documents that go out for the HSA. And they're all housed on this same page. So you'll see here you have monthly statements, and those can go back clear as far as you've had the account. So you can pick the year you'd like to access the statements, and then of course you can click on the month and it will pull up that actual statement that was either emailed to you or mailed out to you if you chose to have them sent that way. Further down, you'll see the HSA year-end statement, which again you can retrieve for any year that you've had the HSA with us. And then the two tax documents that we send out on your health savings account are the 1099 SA and the 5498 SA. So the 1099 SA shows distributions from this account. So each year we'll send you this document by January 31st. If you've spent anything out of the health savings account, if you've had no just distributions, then you won't receive one of these forms. But when you do get this form, it is something you have to file with your taxes, so just know that you can always access it here in your online account. The 5498 is going to show contributions. However, this is not something that you do have to file with your taxes. This is something that we send you after the tax deadline of April 15th that show total contributions into this account. The reason we send it after April 15th is because each year you have up until the tax deadline to still make contributions for the previous tax year. So again, that's sort of for your record keeping purposes, but where you can always find it here online. The next thing I'll show you is under the HSA tab, under the My Account tab. So there are several things that you can find here. You can make a contribution, you can find your interest rates, you can see your contribution history. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to show you the transaction history as well as the contribution history. So your transaction history is basically an up-to-date account statement. So it's going to show everything that's going in and out of the account, either by contributions or by distributions. So you'll see here there are kind of two different types of distributions that you might potentially see in your transaction history. One of them is card transactions, and they look something like this. And you'll notice that there's not a lot of detail to that card transaction just from this page. So each of them is a link that if you click on, you can see more details about that particular card transaction. You can see when it was settled, you can see the amount, and you can see the location if you're trying to do a little more research on that. The other type of transaction or distribution is a claim payment. So this is something where you enter a claim and either have us send a check directly to a provider or you reimburse yourself from that claim. And I'm going to show you how you can do both of those things from your online account here. Again, it's a link, so if you click on it, you will see more details about who the payment was made to, the date that it went out, and then you'll also see down here under payment history that the check was released if it's sent to a provider, and it will show when it's cashed as well. So you can always track payments to providers and make sure that they're getting cashed. So that's your transaction history. I also want to show you your contribution history because it is important with a health savings account to be sure that you're not going over the IRS maximums for any given year that you're contributing into the HSA. So you can always see up-to-date contributions posted here in your contribution history. And they'll list out all of the different contributions that have been made, whether they're from your payroll, from your employer, or from a personal bank account. The next thing you can access under the My Account tab is your investment options. So here at HealthEquity, we offer best-in-class investment options. There are 39 different mutual funds that you can potentially move money into once your balance is over a certain threshold. This is a way that you can try and earn a higher rate of return on your funds in your HSA. These are all managed on your own, so you can come in here and you can view the prospectus on the funds. You can view the prospectus on the funds, you can see how they perform, and then you can add or make changes to your fund lineup at any time. Additionally, here at HealthEquity, we have what's called an investment advisor. This is an online tool that can actually help you manage your investments if you choose to use it. So we have three options. You have self-driven, where you're doing everything yourself. There are no fees for you to do the self-driven option with investments. Everything's free to trade, and you're doing all the work, so there's no fee. However, we also offer what's called our GPS, or our autopilot. Those both have small fees associated with them, and if you're wondering how those work, I highly recommend attending the webinar that I talked about in the beginning that you can register for on the same site that you registered for this webinar. That will tell you all about the investment advisor and the GPS and autopilot option. The GPS is basically they'll give you the advice, and then you choose to make the changes as necessary or however you choose to. And then the autopilot is they'll do everything for you. So they make the trades, and all they do is send you updates when things are happening with the investments. That's the option that I choose because I don't know anything about investments, and to me it's helpful to, have that advice and have it just done all on its own. And I'm willing to pay the small fee associated with it because it gives me that peace of mind. I'm going to show you here, though, on the portal, the self-driven option. So we'll select self-driven, and then this will show you sort of your investment desktop. First, you do have to agree to the terms, and then once you've done that, it will show you how to edit your portfolio, add to your portfolio, and again, this is where you can get all the information on the different funds available to you. The next thing I want to show you under the My Account tab is adding individuals. So we've talked about beneficiaries, but here you can also add dependents to your account. So if you log into your account and you see that some of your dependents are not listed, or you have a new dependent that you need to add, you can simply click Add Dependent, give us their name, their date of birth, and their relationship to you, and that will add them as a dependent in our system so that if you're making payments for their medical expenses, they'll be in our system. Keep in mind that you can only use this HSA account for your spouse and your eligible tax dependents. So those are really the only individuals that you'll want to add as dependents, since theirs are the only medical expenses eligible for you to pay out of this account. You can also go to Manage Cards under the My Account tab. That's going to show you what cards we've issued on the account and their status, whether they've been activated or not. And you can also view some very basic insurance information that we have on file for you. It's usually just the provider for the insurance and your deductibles for the year. If you want more insurance detail, we're a third party, sort of like a bank for the HSA, so we don't have a lot of your insurance information. It's typically best to go directly to your insurance provider for those types of questions. The next tab over is the claims and payments section. So this is where you're going to be adding claims if you choose to make payments either directly to providers or reimbursing yourself for something that you paid out of pocket. So I'm going to show you both options and how to do that. So first we're going to go through step by step for paying a provider. This is where HealthEquity will actually send a check directly to that provider for your medical expenses. And you just give us all the information to do that, and then we send the check directly to the provider. So this first page here, you're going to leave it on the option of enter a claim record and send a payment. The second option to enter a claim record only would be used if you didn't want to make a payment, you just wanted it in our system for record keeping purposes. Then you'll click next, and we're going to leave it on the option of pay provider and click next. This is going to be a new expense in most cases where you're adding in the details for us. You're going to choose the person who the expense was for, the date of service, and you have to have a start and an end date, even if it's the same. And then you can choose from this list of categories, whether it be medical, RX, dental, or what have you. And then claim details is where you can add any information for your record keeping purposes so that you know where to look for those receipts in case you were ever audited and had to show that this was a qualified medical expense out of the account. Then you're going to click on next, and this is where you enter the payment details. So let's say this payment is for $1,000 to Dr. Smith. So you'll enter their address and make sure it's the billing address that you're giving us and not the actual facility address, because sometimes they're different. What I usually do is just take a look at the bill that's in my hand, and wherever they're directing that payment to go, that's what you want to enter here. Additionally, they should also give you a patient account number or some sort of reference number for the payment. Highly recommend adding that into this. That's going to make it much easier for them to place that payment. That's going to make it much easier for them to reference that payment and make sure it's applied correctly when they receive the check. And then over here under payment amount, you have a few options to make this payment. The first is just to pay the full $1,000 out of this account. Another option would be to pay a portion of it, like let's say you've already paid $500 and now you're just paying the remaining $500. And the third option is scheduled payments. Scheduled payments can be very helpful, particularly in the beginning of the plan year when maybe you haven't built up a balance in your HSA quite yet. So let's say you have a large payment like this, $1,000, and it comes at the beginning of the plan year and you don't quite have a balance built up. This allows you to schedule out payments where we will send a check each month to that provider until this is paid off. So basically, as your contributions are coming in through payroll, then we're sending out these payments to the provider. Now, I do recommend making sure that you let the provider know that that's going to be happening. So ask them if it's okay if you send, $200 a month until it's paid off. Typically, they're fine with that, and then you can come in here and you can schedule those payments. So let's say this is going to be 5 payments, and we're going to divide those payments equally over the 5-month period. So that's $200, and then once we've made those payments, this will be completely paid off. Once you've elected the payment amount and the type of payment that you're going to make, you'll simply click on Next. And this next screen is just having you verify that everything that you've entered is how you want it. If it looks exactly like you want it, then you'll click I have reviewed this payment and go ahead and finish the payment. And that's going to take you to your pending payment screen. So this is where payments kind of sit for maybe 1 to 2 business days until the checks are released or the electronic funds transfer is released. So this is anything that's kind of pending paying out on the account. And then once it does pay out and once those are released, then you'll see it in your transaction history. So this is where you can check to just make sure that all 5 of those payments that we set up are going to go out and they're pending. The next type of payment I'm going to show you is how to request a reimbursement. So this can be done if you pay out of pocket for a medical expense using either a personal credit card or your own bank account. It's very similar to paying a provider, except for this time we're paying you for the expense. So you're going to click on the Reimburse Me option. And again, we'll enter a new expense for this. The next page that comes up is exactly as it says, for your record-keeping purposes only. Since this is an individually owned account, you're the one that's liable to the IRS to make sure you're spending this money on qualified medical expenses. So this is just a place where you can keep track of those medical expenses. So it's very similar. You can enter the provider name, select the dependent that the expense was for, the start and the end date, even if they're the same, and then again you can choose from the category that it applies. And make any notes to yourself and claim details if you choose to. Once you click on Next, you're going to enter the amount for the reimbursement. And then this is where it shows you the two options that I talked about previously. So you can have a check mailed to you, but please note that there's a $2 fee for the paper, or you can have it sent into your personal bank account, which again is faster and it's free. So that's the option that we're going to choose. And then once we do that, you just want to verify again that everything's entered correctly. Go ahead and click the option that you've reviewed the payment. And then that payment will again show in your View Pending Payments screen. Once you've entered these, they're going to show under your claims page. So you can see that by going to View All Claims. And this will show you all of the claims that you've entered or that you've had HealthEquity enter for you and the payments that have gone out on them. The ID on the left-hand side is a link where you can see more details about that particular claim. And again, it's where you can track the payment status as far as the check going out or the reimbursement going to yourself. Another thing that you can do in these claims is you can link documentation to the claim for your record keeping purposes, so that everything's in the same spot. If you were ever audited, you could come in here and all of your receipts and your documentation would be right online. Linking your documentation comes from what we call your documentation library. You can access that library by going to the View Receipts and Documentation, and you can add new items by uploading things, or you can use our HealthEquity mobile app to take a picture and upload it to your documentation library as well. Once you upload documentation, it will sit in the library until you choose to either link it to a card transaction or link it to a claim. And again, it just kind of gives you that visibility into all of the medical expenses that are going out of this account to ensure that they're qualified and that if you were ever audited, you could prove that they were qualified medical expenses. The next tab over is the Docs and Forms tab. This is where, again, you can link to your tax documents, which I already showed you. You can link to your documentation library very easily, and you can also pull up general forms on the account. Most of these forms, it's likely that you won't need on the account. A lot of this stuff you can actually just do online, or you can call HealthEquity to add some of these things. But I did want to point out a couple of documentation or a couple of documents here that you may need on the account at some point. The form that I really wanted to point out is down here at the bottom, either a rollover request form or a transfer request form. These forms can be used if you have a current health savings account with a different custodian that has funds in it, and you would like all of those funds to be moved over into this account so they're all in the same place. You'd simply pull up this form, fill it out, send it into HealthEquity either via fax, email, or mail, and then we will go and request the funds from your current custodian and get those funds transferred into this account. Again, just something to keep in mind if you do have an HSA with another custodian and you'd like all of your HSA funds to be in the same place. The rest of these forms, again, you may or may not need at any point, but you can always access them here under the Docs and Forms and General Forms tab. The last tab up at the top here is Resources. This is going to be different for most of our members depending on how you're enrolled in the HSA with us, whether it's through an employer or an insurance company. But this will give you quick links to different things that your employer or your insurance has chosen to link. Sometimes it will link you to your actual insurance site. Sometimes you'll have prescription pricing tools or things like that. Again, the resources are all different for everybody, so I'm not going to go through them, but it is nice and helpful if you go to your resource tab and you have things like prescription pricing tools if you're trying to compare the cost of your prescriptions between different pharmacies and between generic and name brand drugs. So that is basically everything I wanted to show you on the member portal today. Hopefully that was helpful and it's given you an idea of how you really can manage your account easily online with HealthEquity. We try to make the member portal as user-friendly as possible. I also did want to mention our mobile app as a part of this presentation. This is something that I use all the time. I love it. It's free to download. It's available for iOS and Android. If you simply search HealthEquity, all one word, no spaces, you should be able to pull that up in your app store. This is basically on-the-go access for all account types with HealthEquity. You can pretty much do everything that I've showed you from in the member portal, but on the go from your mobile app. My favorite thing is the ability to take a quick picture of a receipt if I'm picking up a prescription. If that receipt ends up in my purse, I'll probably never see it again. So I just take out my phone, snap a quick picture, it uploads to my documentation library, and then I can link it with the card transaction from my HSA. Again, just more convenient, powerful tools for you to access and utilize your account with us. Keep in mind that if you do download this app, it uses the same login credentials as your member portal. So you do have to have logged into your member portal and set up your username and password in order to log into the mobile app. The last thing I'll leave you with here is probably my favorite thing about HealthEquity, and that is our expert friends or our member service specialists. They are available every hour of every day to take your calls, so you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday and you're going to talk to a live representative and somebody who really wants to help you understand this account, access this account, and utilize this account to the best of your ability. You know, if you're trying to do one of these things online and you're having any kind of problems, please don't hesitate to give them a call. Again, they're available every hour of every day, and you can call them at the phone number you see here on the screen, 866-346-5800. That does conclude the webinar for today. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. Again, if you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out to our member service specialists, and have a great day.